In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to develop cash generating habits that actually stick.
The Epic Life TV, your home for mastery of habits which create your epic life and business.
What is up, Epic Lifers? It is so good to have you back here again. I'm Mr. O, and this is the Epic Life TV, the only life worth living, home of the rich, ripped, and ridiculously happy. Hey, if it's your first time here, introduce yourself below in the comments. And if you haven't already, check out our trailer and you'll get to know all about what the Epic Life is all about. I do believe there is a link in the description, conveniently placed there for you. Okay, now, if you weren't aware of it by now, because maybe this is the first time you're actually watching me or watching this video or whatever, I don't know. I just want to make you aware of the fact that this is actually a 6-part series. And if you're not aware, then, well, you are now. Here's the thing though, this one is the last video. So you want to go back and watch obviously the first videos leading up to this one, especially this one, because this video is only going to make sense if you've seen the one previous to it. So you want to see videos 5 and 6 at least, because they really do go hand in hand together. So yeah, you want to go back. The first video was how to wake up at 5 a.m. with tons of energy, where I share 10 super hacks to help you do it. And video number 2 was the 5 morning rituals of rich and successful people. The third video was the 12 daily ritual productivity hacks of millionaires. Fourth was the 7 skills that you must master if you are going to earn your first million. And fifth, how to reprogram your subconscious mind with success habits. Which brings us to this video, which is how to develop cash generating habits that actually stick. There is a link in the description to all the previous videos previous to this one, and also the playlist. So if you want to just binge watch the whole lot, you can do so. Okay, are you ready to get into it? Because by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to develop cash generating habits that actually stick. So if you're ready to get into it, give me a thumbs up. Let's roll, baby. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to go back to the 4th video in this series and pick one of the 7 skills that you must master if you want to earn your first million. And you need to pick what skill that's going to be. So go back and watch that video if you haven't already. For heaven's sake, I don't know why you wouldn't, but that's where we are right now. So the first step here is to choose a habit, and then the next thing that you're going to do is develop an actual routine, okay? Those are the first 2 things that you're going to do. And then once you've got those 2 things established, the habit that you want and the routine you're going to go through, then when you're going through the daily practice to actually turn this into a habit, then you're going to go through 3 steps. Then the 3 steps are these. The first thing is you want to pick a trigger. Okay, because this trigger, every time you see it, is going to, of course, trigger you into your routine. And then once you have the routine going, after that, then you're going to pick, or you'll already have, a pleasure anchor. And when you've got that pleasure anchor, then that's going to be able to anchor the habit into your mind. From all the sea of other habits and everything else that's going on, you want to anchor this particular habit so that it's a habit that sticks. I hope that makes sense, okay? And the reason we call it a pleasure anchor is because we're talking about the emotions, and you have to remember that the subconscious mind is the emotional part of the brain, okay? And so when you solidify a habit with emotion, it's gonna happen a lot faster, right? Because what we wanna do is we wanna get closer to the line of automaticity, all right? So if you watch video 5, you'll understand a bit more about what automaticity is. But essentially, what it is it's getting your brain to the point where it automates certain behaviors and habits. That's crossing the line of automaticity. And all that's happening really is it's taking a thought that you have in your conscious mind and transferring it over to the subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind does about 95% to 99% of what we actually do on a day-to-day basis. And the conscious thoughts that you're having is about 1 to 5%, right? And so those are the things you have to think about, the things that you learn, and they're a little bit difficult. And after a while, then you get to the point where hey, this is getting kind of easy now. Well, it's got easy because your brain has automated it. It's made it simple. It's made it efficient for you. That's what automaticity is, right? And so, of course, we want to do this with income generating activities. Pretty exciting stuff. So stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a trigger, all right? What's the thing that we're going to do that triggers us off into implementing this income generating, this cash generating activity? And you want to pick something that confronts you daily. In other words, something that you see or something that you do every day that you cannot avoid. It's just something that has to happen every day, right? It could be something like eating. It could be something like logging onto your computer. Or something I like to use is anything to do with water, right? We come into contact with water so often every day. You know, we use it to wash our clothes. We use it to brush our teeth. We use it to take a shower, right? All of these things are things that I would hope you're doing every day. If you're not doing them, then you can stay far away from me on the day that you've chosen not to do that. So pick one thing that after you do that one thing, like maybe logging onto your computer, then you do a particular activity. And by the way, when you're picking all these different types of habits, right, you want to make sure that you're picking one trigger per routine, okay? You don't want to confuse your brain. So that's the first step, that's the trigger. Now, the second step is your routine, okay? Now, the key here is this. It's called a routine because it's something you do every day. And the key word here is consistency. You have to be consistent. Let me tell you something. The moment you stop being consistent, you miss a day, do you know what happens? It throws things off. Your ability to actually solidify that habit just by missing a day really reduces the chances of you solidifying this into a habit a lot faster, okay? If you want to cross the line of automaticity, it has to be something that you do every day. You cannot break this, okay? You've got to make sure that you do this until you find that you're just doing it automatically. Now, the thing you've got to understand is that until you actually cross the line of automaticity, you're actually going to be relying on willpower. Now, here's the thing. I like to liken this to a rocket going into space, right? You have a rocket that launches and it takes so much thrust, so much of the actual fuel that's used. Most of it is used in getting this huge, humongous cylinder that weighs goodness knows how much, just to get it launched into the air, right, out of the orbit of Earth. And once it's out of the orbit of Earth, then it just gets to the point where it just it can float around. It's effortless. It doesn't need nearly as much fuel. Most of the majority of the fuel is actually dumped in liftoff. So this is the same thing with willpower. It takes quite a bit of willpower to actually get things going. But I want to give you a hack here that helps you to really make the most of the willpower that you do have, because the truth is that willpower comes in very limited forms of supply. It really does. You only have so much every day, and that's why people find it so difficult to stick to something. So here's how you do this, right? This is the routine part we're talking about here, and we're talking about using a routine in a way that's going to maximize your ability to be consistent here, okay, when your willpower is very low. So here's what we're going to be doing, all right? You need to pick the activity you're going to do, right? You need to pick this activity, and you need to pick the minimum amount that you're going to do in a day for days that you feel weak, right? And then the maximum amount when you feel on, right? And the reason for this is because we need consistency. So the days that you're not feeling like, oh man, I'm really on doing this today, right? Then you just do what the bare minimum is. But the key is that you're consistent. Okay, this is the key. This is the most important thing than anything else, right? If you take one thing from this video, it has to be the consistency. So once you've picked that one activity, this is the point when you pick out what it will be, right? You pick out your routine. So for example, let's say you're going to post some articles. Maybe you're planning on doing 10 that day, okay? Instead of doing the 10 because you're not really feeling that strong, you'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to do one today. Or if it's a YouTube video, I'm just going to do one video today, right? If it's an Instagram post, I'm just going to do one, all right? If it's a Facebook ad, I'm just going to put one. Whatever the activity is, right? If it's a sales video, I'm just going to do one part today. Then when you're on a day when it's just like, yes, I'm on it, then you do 10 of them, right? But you've got whatever the whole routine is, you've got to do the whole routine, but you can just pick a small volume versus doing a large volume. So when you pick your routine, figure out what all the details are, right? Okay, right. What's this cash generating activity? What is it top to bottom? What are all the steps that I have to do? And then if it's something you're doing multiple times in a day, you just do the whole routine, but you can just do it once on that time. But you need to detail it out. And I like to do this when I'm working out, right? So to be honest with you, I don't really need willpower to work out anymore because it's just something I do regularly and have been doing for years. So here's the thing. Even now, once in a while, sometimes I'll just feel like, I don't really feel like doing a workout today, okay? Now on that day, what I do is I trick myself. Okay, because it takes a lot of willpower sometimes to do a whole workout when you're thinking, oh man, I've got this whole set of all these different exercises to do. Oh man, this is going to be hard. So you know what I do? I just say, you know what? I'm just going to do one set. I'm just going to do one set. I'm going to do the one set and then at least I'll have done something, because if I don't do it, I'm not going to feel good about myself tomorrow. I'm not going to feel good about myself for the next 5 minutes when I know I should have worked out. So I'll do something. I'll do one set. And you know what ends up happening most of the time? And I do mean most of the time, in fact, probably all the time, just by committing to doing that one set, guess what happens? All of a sudden, now I'm in the mood for it. And now I'm just like, okay, I got this far. I might as well just do the rest of the workout. And the same thing will happen when you're doing your income generating activity. So this is just something to bear in mind. That's why you want to trick yourself to do that little small step. And then next thing you know, you'll just be like, dude, I might as well just finish it off. You know what I'm saying? So this is the way you do it, okay? This is how you be consistent every single time. And so of course, once you've done that, you've picked your trigger, you've picked your routine, then we have the pleasure anchor. Now this is the fun part, okay? This is the fun part because now you're gonna pick something that's going to give you a pleasure, okay, so that your brain associates the activity you did just before it with the pleasure that it gets after. Do you know that this is exactly how people get addicted to pornography, to alcohol, to caffeine, to goodness, what else? Weed, okay? All of these different vices that we have today, you get a pleasure afterwards, right? When people watch pornography, they probably masturbate while they're doing it, right? And then they have the pleasure of an orgasm. It's like, when I watch porn, I get pleasure, okay? Same thing with smoking. It's like, oh, I feel calmer, or I have weed. Oh, I just kind of feel a bit euphoric here. This is nice. I feel calm. Ooh, this feels nice, right? So after you do these things, and so we actually associate the pleasure with the actual activity. The actual activity isn't where the pleasure is per se, right? It's actually the feelings, the chemicals that are released in your brain, the dopamine that is released, right? When you have McDonald's, for example, it's the same thing. They actually engineer this food to stimulate the parts of your brain so that you'll actually want and crave more and keep coming back. All right, so they really do know what they're doing. They do the same thing with social media and everything else, okay? This is why people are addicted to these things. So you can do the same thing with your cash generating activities. So what you want to do is you want to pick something, okay? It could be a meal, okay? Something you really enjoy eating, okay? Hopefully something that's not too unhealthy, okay? Because on the Epic Life, we are about being healthy here. But pick something. It could be food, or maybe it's like, okay, you know what? I like to watch YouTube videos, for example, right? So after I've done these activities, then I get to watch something from my favorite YouTuber. I'll get to watch, some kind of car video. I like to watch car videos. And so I will just watch a car video after I've done some activity. Now, here's the trick. I do the same thing with working out, okay? If I actually want to eat breakfast, my body knows I don't get to eat food until I finish working out. That's my rule, okay? Because for me, food is a gift after I've worked out. So therefore, until I do that thing, I don't get that I don't get that pleasure, right? So you need to pick what that will be for you, okay? And then you want to make sure that that particular thing is only ever used when you actually do that activity. I hope that makes sense. And so what this does is when your brain sees, you know what? Every time we do this conscious activity, I don't really like this activity, but man, you know, when we do this, we get this pleasure afterwards. We should automate this because obviously every time we do this, we get this pleasure. Maybe we should automate this. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's automate this so that we can just run this program automatically so we can keep getting this pleasure every time we do this activity. And then you get closer to the line of automaticity. And a good way of telling that as to whether or not that's happening is you start getting the cravings for the pleasure anchor that you have picked for that activity. That's your automaticity kicking in. So this is very simple. This is how you automate any habit for this matter, all right? Any activity that you want to do, and especially cash generating ones. I know so many people have trouble with this, and I'm telling you, if you'll just follow those 3 simple steps, okay? Just pick a trigger, pick a routine, and pick a pleasure anchor. I'm telling you, you can solidify a habit. Now, how long that takes depends on how consistent you will be, okay? And it varies from person to person as well, right? I'm not even gonna give you a timeline here. They say on average, it takes about 66 to 67 days for a habit to become solidified. I know people talk about 21 days and so on like that, but for a lot of people, they'll do something for 21 days and then it wears off, okay? So it really depends on how well that emotional trigger is solidified and anchored in your mind. It depends on so many different factors, but I'm telling you, this 3-step process will get you to the line of automaticity and will automate cash generating activities. And I almost forgot, I can't believe this, all right? One thing that you want to do is make sure that you get this pleasure anchor, whatever the thing is that you've picked, make sure that you pick something, okay? And make sure that you have that available to you immediately after you have done the activity that it is that you want to solidify into a habit, okay? Make sure that you get it immediately after so that your brain builds that association with the activity and the pleasure anchor that you really want to get solidified into your habits. I want to give you an extra hack that's really going to help you make a habit out of this. It's one thing to watch this video, but you want the benefits of it, right? So I've got a hack. It's called How to Annihilate Procrastination in 29 Seconds. All right, there's a link in the description below. And this is going to make sure that you're not missing any of the steps that you need to make this really work for you. Okay, so if you enjoyed this, please do give it a thumbs up, share it with your fellow epic lifer friends who you know are after their epic life and really want this, and subscribe because we've got another video coming out next Tuesday and you don't want to miss it. Okay, so that's it for now. This is Mr. O, and remember, if you're gonna live the epic life, and you're just one habit away.